folks, JD here, and as you saw a couple of days ago, we took this guy out. Now, as we've had quite a lot of bad weather recently, this has meant that this particular car is gunked up totally. So what I thought I'd do today is go through a couple of things that I do just to clean cars and clean the motors to ensure that it's going to be all nice and ready for the next time that we take her out. Now, what I use to clean cars normally alters a little bit. What I'm going to be using today is a little bit of toilet roll as well as some cotton wool buds as well. Now, it is important to remember that when you do clean any sort of any electronics, you don't want to be getting any tissue or any cotton inside the motor, and likewise if you have a printed circuit board, you don't want to be causing any friction to that either, because otherwise you may end up blowing a part of the printed circuit board that then means that the car will not work. So what I'm going to do is I'm not wearing any fleece or anything which is going to cause any issues, and here we go. So if I take this off, God, look at that. That is filthy. And there's the engine as well. So as you can see, the inside has got some mud in it, it's got some water in it, it really isn't looking that happy. So to begin with, what I'm going to do is just take one little sheet of tissue and just wipe across the top here. That'll get rid of some of the mud and some of the debris as well that we've had, because there's no end of debris on that little track. I took this on. Obviously it's got trees over the top of it. So what I'm doing here is I'm just, as you can see, there was a lot of water on the top here, and likewise there's water down the back here. So what I'm doing is just, for the second, just taking a really small bit of tissue and just dabbing it. Now you can get cloths specifically designed for this. Unfortunately, all of mine are, well, absolutely destroyed. So this is why I'm having to resort to toilet paper instead. Now it does a good enough job of getting rid of the water and obviously not leaving behind any sort of ripped toilet paper as well. So if you try and scrunch it up into a little ball rather than using it as a flat little piece of toilet roll, then what you're going to do is you're not going to leave any bits behind. Now where it gets a little bit tricky is where you've got the little motor here. Now fortunately the motor is tucked away inside this particular body here, so it isn't going to come into contact that much with a lot of debris, a lot of mud and stuff like that. But what I'm going to do to get in at quite the hard parts is just use a little cotton wool bud. Look at that. That just picks up a little bit of dirt quite easily and just ensures that nothing is going to stick around there, so that the car isn't going to sit and rot in between now and the next time that I take her out. So there we go. There we are. Look at that. Mud all over it. Just removed a tiniest bit of mud from inside here, and now that is looking a lot cleaner. Obviously it can get a bit cleaner again. Now what we're going to do as well is we're going to take off this battery mount, and I'm going to remove this battery as well. Now when I do this, obviously you're going to see the full extent. Look at all the mud under there. That is not ideal. You don't want any sort of water or any sort of mud to come into contact with the battery in any way, shape or form. But unfortunately sometimes it happens. These cars ride on the road, and therefore the road is full of mud or full of debris or leaves. It is winter and leaves do fall from the tree, and therefore the car does pick it up. But there we go, a little bit of tissue again, and the battery is totally clean, 100%, and there's no bits of dirt and debris or any lingering water molecules on that at all. So let's leave that to one side. Now that we've taken the battery out, see, we can get all that underneath there as well. So what I'm going to do is just take a little bit of toilet tissue again, roll it up into a ball, and get right in there and just sweep it round once, and that picks up all that. And then check it, and then go through again, hitting the corners, making sure you get as much as possible, because obviously it might be a couple of weeks between now and the next time I take this guy out, and I don't want to find that any connections have rotted. There we go, a little bit more inside there, so let's get rid of all of that. Now this is, obviously, as I say, you've got to make sure that you don't leave any cotton wool behind, any tissue behind or anything like that, because that can really screw things up. But look at that, that's looking a lot cleaner. There's still a little bit in the corners here that I've got to get, but you get the idea. That is looking a lot better than what it was. Now, as we look at the screws here and at the suspension and the little servo motor which is underneath here as well, the turning servo, then what I'm going to want to do and what I am going to do is, once all this is cleaned, just going to put a tiniest little bit of oil on these little screws here, and then unscrew them a little bit and screw them back down, just to ensure the oil gets in through the thread, and just to ensure that nothing, if there is any moisture, the moisture then gets drawn out by that little bit of oil. So there's a little bit, looks like tree bark on the inside there. Can't seem to get that. Yep, there we are, gone. Oh, look at all this as well. So there we go. So yeah, and then likewise the underside. Now the underside of cars are more than likely going to be okay. They're going to be aluminium. They're going to be some sort of metal. So therefore you should be okay with the majority of it. But at the same time, you have got screws under here, and you don't want those screws to rust. So likewise, it is a bit of a long job, but I am going to be taking out all of these screws, put a little dab of oil in there just to drive out the moisture again, just to ensure that everything is okay. Now what I'm going to do is put this to one side, and then cleaning the inside of a shell is a lot easier. For this, a big amount of tissue, and then what you may have to do, and what I've done in the past as well, is just soak the inside, or soak the whole of this shell in warm water, not hot water, because you may spoil the overall shape of the motor, but in, you know, quite lukewarm water. But fortunately, because I'm doing this right after I've driven it, and therefore she's not dried and caked on, I have been able to make that look a lot better. There we are. So that is after, and this is before. So there we go. So then now I'm going to just, off camera, I'm now going to remove these screws, put a little bit of oil in there, and just ensure that she's working nice and properly. So there we are, folks. I hope this has helped you in maintaining some of your vehicles and increasing their lifespan. Thanks ever so much for watching and listening. I've been JD. You've been fantastic as always. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Hello and welcome to all the new subscribers. I hope you're enjoying the channel. So until next time, my friends, happy racing.